Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to 22 Panels. My guest tonight is partially responsible for getting me back into monthly comics. Jimmy Palmiotti, who
Sorry.
who years no, because it was with Marvel Knights. I had drifted away during like the early and mid 90s, and then between Kevin Smith, you and Joe on Daredevil, and then the line that you put together, I got sucked back in and haven't fully left since. My buddies Sean Harklerode and Mark Pracht, Chicago area actors and playwright in Mark's case, have joined us. Maybe Marvel Knights is your next play, Mark, or is that too recent?
That's probably too recent.
Is there enough murders? Is there enough murders in it
Yeah.
to make it interesting?
See, Mark did what's called the Four Color Trilogy. He did a play about um Bob Kane and Bill Finger, a play about Wortham and
Bill Gaines,
Bill Gaines,
Bill
and
Gates,
then
yeah.
which Sean
a
played
play.
Bill Gaines.
Yeah,
Okay.
Sean played Bill Gaines, and
Right.
then a play about Stan and Jack. So
Oh, that sounds like fun. I mean,
Yeah.
especially the Stan and Jack one, probably a lot of fun stuff said there, you know.
Oh yeah.
Stan used to tell me a ton of stories, so and I don't know how many of them are actually 100% true or how many of them people know,
they were.
because obviously I've known him for years and I used to host his panels a lot, so he used to
Okay.
pull me aside and go, "Hey, Jimmy, I ever tell you about the time I met this guy?" He would like go on, and I'd be like, "I don't know if it's true, but it sure is fun to hear."
Yeah. Well, I mean,
100% true from Stan's point of view.
Well, I mean, he used to tell me, he told me, we were talking about Silver Surfer one day, and he just said, he said, Jack came in with all these surfing magazines and said, look, the kids love surfing. I got an idea for a character. And and he says, and he brought in a drawing and Stan's like, that sounds great. Like, I mean, that's the way he explains how they came up with stuff is like Jack would find these things that he look what the kids were looking at and say, hey, this is something in it. Um, and I don't know, it sounds right on in a way, right? Because I mean,
Right.
Jack's thinking visually and Stan is thinking story and even
that's
later on with Jack when he did his stories, they were all kind of based on other things where kind of Stan pulled stuff out of nowhere a little bit.
yeah.
Um,
I mean, the tack I take in that show is basically that it none of that exists without both of them. So, I mean that
Absolutely. I
yeah.
agree with that 100%. I always say that this I run into writers and I run into artists more than writers, right? I run into artists that I always say, why don't you create your own story or a book? And they say to me, and I'm always shocked by this, I have no ideas. And it's really funny because some of them are like huge name creators. And I'm just like, you don't have any ideas? I mean, you've been doing this for how many long? And they're like, no, I don't have it. And I've been the person, I'm the opposite, like way too many ideas, right? So I do get like that and it's coming up soon, the new year, where I start looking at like, all right, I got another year, I better get these books out, otherwise they die in my brain.
That's right.
Um, and I'm always looking for collaborators and stuff like that. I do love to collaborate, so I do love to work with other people. I'm not I'm not a guy that's hoarding credits.
Mhm.
It just has no appeal to me. As a matter of fact, I used to always say, if I'm writing with somebody else, then just every other issue, just switch the names around, switch the places. It's really
Mhm.
easy thing to do. And if we're splitting 50-50, I don't care. I don't have to worry about anything.
Right.
Um, I'm sure that was a fun play though to write. A lot of,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I mean, it's one thing. One of the things, Tad just said. You were one of the people who got him back into comics. I could almost say the same thing. I had been out about the mid '90s. I got kind of fed up with everything, and it wasn't until I moved to Chicago in 2001, and it wasn't until uh, I started picking up very, very specifically and very much, I remember it was the Jonah Hex book, which to this day is still my favorite ongoing series of the 21st century.
No, thank you. Yeah, I mean, I
I
loved it too. As a kid, I grew up in Brooklyn, and they had these. There was a bookstore in Flatbush Avenue in Brooklyn called My Friend's Bookstore, and he had boxes of comics on the floor in the bookstore, right? So they were like shoved under the regular where the books were, and you'd pull them out, and they were 10 for a dollar comics, right? And when I go in, I was such a good customer. He'd always say, "Jimmy, today they're 12 for a dollar. Pick out two extra." Um, but in the box was not, it was if it was a superhero comic, it was either in bad shape or one that nobody cared about, right? But but this is now we're talking about early 70s, and for me, I shoveled snow to make money, and then I would go to the bookstore and I'd have $4, and I'd be like, okay, I get 48 comics. How cool is this, right? And I go there, but the boxes were filled mostly with the stuff that nobody was really paying good money for. So it doesn't mean they were bad, but they were horror comics. Everything Frankenstein, all that Marvel line in the 70s with Frankenstein, the Mummy, all that kind of stuff. Horror comics, tons of DC horror comics, and of course sci-fi and westerns. And there were Jonah Hex books. And I remember going in and buying I picked up a couple of Jonah Hexes because I liked the covers. I just like there was like a coffin going over a cliff, some crazy thing. And I said, well, Jonah Hex looks cool. And I started reading a couple of them. Then I realized I had number 33, and I was like, let me go back in the boxes next week. And eventually I got them all. I had to go behind the counter to get the first appearance and number one. But it was only a couple of dollars back then. And I remember reading them, and so the Western was the furthest thing in the world from an Italian kid growing up in Brooklyn. You understand? The
Yeah.
furthest thing. I mean, it might as well have been outer space tales about Jupiter, and I remember I fell in love with Westerns reading Jonah Hex, and I remember not too long after that, the Outlaw Josie Wales movie came out, and I went to see it in the theater because I thought he kind of looks like Jonah Hex in this movie, and the movie was fantastic. One of Clint's best in my eyes, and yeah, and I just so after that, it was years and years and years and years and years later. They never did much with the character, and Justin and I pitched Jonah Hex around 1990. I was gonna say late 90s, and they had no interest in it. And then one day I got a call years later, um, from Dan DiDio because I bugged him when Dan DiDio started at DC. I asked him. I said, "Can you guys I want to do Jonah Hex. Like, can you guys? You guys aren't doing anything with the character." And he's like, "No, but Brian Azzarello wants to do Jonah Hex, and I'm sorry, I'm sorry, but it's Brian Azzarello.
Right.
You can't sell a book. And I'm like, okay. Um, so Brian never did it. So Brian came out with his own Western, and then Dan DiDio called me up and said, okay, Brian decided to create, I think it was Loveless, I think was it?
I think it
Yeah.
was.
And he said, Brian's doing that. Send me a pitch for Jonah Hex. And I said, literally on the phone, I said to him, I said, check your mail. It's in your mail now. 'Cause I had it all ready. And I actually had it with Mark Texera was going to draw the book. Okay.
Okay.
Because that was my high school buddy. I went to high school with Mark. We got the gig, and then Justin and I started writing the book, and we pitched it to Dan. We said, look, can we do done in one stories? Because number one, nobody does them anymore. Number two, we can actually pick out the artists in advance, and we can write a bunch of these in advance and then have like 15 artists doing them at the same time. So the book will never come out late. And he said, yeah, that sounds great. As long as you can wrap up a story in each issue. And then Mark Texera, I called him up. I said, you got the job. And he goes, Mark Texera, literally on a phone call, I swear to God this happened. He goes to me, is there any way you can write the book but not have horses in it? And I go, what? And he goes, I really suck at drawing horses. So if there's any way you can do the book without horses in it, and I said, I absolutely cannot write this book without horses. Like, he said, you insane? I'm like, like it's like, what are gonna have like a Jonah Hex and a bunch of guys, walk through the desert all the time. Um, so Tex was out, and then after that we kept going with different artists and as we went along, and it actually what we promised Dan was exactly what we did. We found artists that wanted to do a story. We wrote them in advance, and we some artists sat on the book for like a year. Some of those issues. And at one point, we were I was in Spain, and I met with Jordi Bernay, and that was that. I think Jordi did 17 issues altogether.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And but anyway, it was for me, it was super important because everyone knew me as an anchor, everyone knew me as the guy, Marvel Knights guy, right? The guy that's kind of like editing. And I said, if I'm gonna write, I have to really kill it on this book. Like I can't fake this. I can't rip off Frank Miller like everybody else was doing and do Daredevil and Batman like Frank Miller. I'm sorry, but that has not left Batman or those characters ever since. Um, and I said, I have to write this thing. So I did crazy things. I went and took horseback riding lessons.
Wow.
I went and stayed at a ranch out in California. Justin had experience working on a ranch, and then I did a lot of history research and a drive out west, and we kind of researched a ton of stuff, which is on the page, but it's not beating you over the head. It's there, but it's not supposed to be like me telling you, "Hey, look! There weren't kazoos back in 1874." Who gives a crap, right? But there was a lot of stuff that was real in the books, and even when we had like Darwin Cook said he wanted to draw an issue, and I said, well, we're gonna research Canadian Mounties for you since you're from Canada. I'm gonna give you a little nod to that, and then how to track wolves. And I read this whole thing about wolves, and then I read this horrific story about a guy that got mauled by wolves, and I was like, great, I'm gonna put that in the story. And so that's how that series came down, and that's also I think why those books stayed with people, but well, it stayed with everyone but DC Comics because all the books are out of print. Our first 70 issues are out of print. And that happened because while we were doing the run, it got attention. They decided to make a movie, but not involve us at all. As a matter of fact, tell us to our face how proud they were that we weren't involved with it, but it was based on our books. And then when the
But
movie
was it,
bombed,
Jimmy?
what's that?
But was it?
No, it was. You know what? We went on a set. Justin and I flew to New Orleans because one of the producers was a friend, like somebody I knew from before, and he invited us. Now, DC Comics did not invite us to the set. No invite. As a matter of fact, nothing from them. They literally just told me one day we're making a movie on Jonah Hex. We're basing it on your comics, which of course it wasn't. And so he flew me out there, and when Justin and I got to the set, the crew had comics for us to sign. Like, and they said we love the comics, and the art director said, we're doing some art direction based on the covers. And I said, yeah, but what happened to the story? I read the script, and I said, what happened? He doesn't have superpowers. He's a tracker. He doesn't need to dig up a dead guy to find out where somebody went. He literally is what he does for a living is track people. Like, there was so much in the script that my head was exploding, but it was great to have lunch with Josh Brolin and John Malkovich and meet everybody. It was a blast. Um, but I knew the movie was doomed, and then we didn't want our names on the movie. Obviously, if you look at not on there, because they just completely ignored the material, and they got what they deserved in a weird way because. But the problem with that is who got screwed the most out of that movie? Justin and I, because the movie bombed and all the Barnes and Nobles and bookstores in the United States returned all the trades and they were destroyed.
Oh,
So they were recycled. I'm sorry, they were recycled to make another Batman, 85 Batman covers probably.
right.
Um, But anyway, they were recycled and trashed and never put back in print again. Now, the All-Star Western omnibus came out, and they're still looking at that, saying if it does sell well, we'll do one with your other books. But it's still everything's out of print. And I
Right.
know this isn't what we were going to talk about, guys, today. So I'm sorry about that.
Well, it is
Well,
part of what
no.
we were going to talk about. I
Oh,
mean,
okay.
literally, like these guys are in two book clubs that we have, and you've managed to hit them both because we have our Kirby Fourth World Book Club, and we have what we call the Pulp Blotter, where we do pulp type comics. In the last 3 months, we've been reading your Jonah Hex run, and that's why as Mark was going, if I ever got to talk to Jimmy Palmiotti, I'd have to ask him about this. I started
I
emailing you while I
Right,
was
right.
talking to
Well,
him.
you know,
yeah, go
I
ahead.
mean,
Sorry.
like, I don't, I just like, I don't want to fill up all the time with talking about Jonah Hex, but I mean,
I,
there
I
were
don't mind.
so many things that we've been talking about during the course, and you've touched on some of them.
Yeah.
Like to me, like it's so tied into Josie Wales. It feels very much of a piece with that, but it's
Yeah.
also like, and talking about how you love collaboration and things like that. It's a conversation we had about wondering how those issues came about with because when we just read the Darwin Cook issue with the wolves,
Okay. Yeah.
and
Right.
we immediately were like, did Darwin come and say, I really want to do something with wolves and
No.
Canadian wilderness, or did you say we're going to do that because it's Darwin? It's
So
like
Darwin used to, so 6 months out of the year, Darwin lived, well, he lived up in Canada, right? Up at Halifax, up that way. Um, and then 6 months of the year, he bought a house near me in Florida because he used to come to my house and stay here in our guest room. And then we started noticing the clothes piling up in the closet, and we're like, okay, he's moving in, right? Uh, but then he got married, and he bought a little place near us. And in the mornings, Darwin would come with some Starbucks for Amanda because Amanda and Darwin were like brother and sister, okay? And he would come over and we talk about stories, and he asked me what I'm working on, and we talk about Jonah Hex. And he just said, I read this issue. Oh my God, that was great. He loved Jordy Bernay. He says that guy's brilliant. People don't understand how good he is. DC has no idea that they have a treasure like that. And he goes, I want you to write an issue for me. I want to do an issue. And I said, okay. I said, let me think about that, because we're writing it for you. So right away, I thought Canada, like Canadian Mounties. And then I said, okay, if he's going to go up north, there's problems around that time with wolves that were a big problem. I started reading some of the headlines and about cities and wolf problems, and then I started reading real stories about wolves. The idea, that to kill them, you have to kill all of them, the whole pack. You have to, there's a thing where he's sliding the candle in and he's going into the cave. Um, and then they start panicking and clawing their way out. This is like all real stuff. So I started putting this story together, and I gave him the outline, and I said, "Here's what I want to do. Do you want to draw this?" And he's like, "Hell yeah, man!" He's like, "Absolutely." Now we had it through two more times with Darwin because when we were doing the 50th issue, he was over here, and he goes, "What are you going to do for 50?" And I said, "Jonah Hex is going to kill 50 men in that comic." And he's like, "What do you mean?" I said, "If anybody wants to take the time and count, he kills 50 guys in that comic." And he's like, "For the 50th issue." And he's like, "But how are you going to pull that off?" And I'm like, "No, no, no, that's not the story. The story is about Tallulah and him. That's just in my brain. A side note that if you read it, he kills 50 people." Um, and Justin and I were talking, and we're like saying, "Look, in the old Jonah Hexes, he would bang a lot of prostitutes and stuff like that, you know." But I said, but Tallulah is like, the create our creation for the series. Like, he has something in common and something invested in this woman, and they kind of make a really interesting, out of control couple. And the 50th issue, we definitely explored that. The idea that, they run into a bar and start screwing and everybody runs out, that kind of thing. And the 50th issue, I said, listen, no, it's gonna be heavy. I said, because this stuff's gonna go down. And he's like, I want to do it. And he He drew the hell out of that book, and it's a great comic. Like I honestly I forget I wrote it and Justin wrote it because I just read it for his art and it's so beautiful. Um, but he was really pissed off because he won like six Eisners or something that year, but nobody mentioned Jonah Hex, and he said that was my best work that year. And he goes, but
Well,
because it was Jonah Hex, nobody gave a crap about it, you know?
I will tell you that one of my prized possessions is I have the original art for page one of Jonah Hex number 50.
No kidding.
Yeah. And I
I
got it
do
at
too,
San
I do
Diego.
too because I inked the version before he fired me. I inked like 4 or 5 pages, and then
Well,
he fired me. He's like if I wanted it to look like me, buddy, I would have done it myself because I was being very loyal to his pencils, and he
yeah.
wound up inking it himself, and I gave those away to friends of mine.
Well, I all I know is I have a I got it at San Diego. I don't remember what dealer I bought it from, but
Right.
he signed it, and it's the whole sequence where they're riding through Monument Valley,
Yeah.
and I just you know I don't have all the money in the world, and it was like one of the cheaper pages because it was just all
Yeah,
landscape.
it's the four panels
Yeah,
where they're on horseback, and
and
then
I
it
was
opens up
just
to the double page splash.
but I was like, this is brilliant. I love it. It's
Yeah.
everything I love about Westerns. And I was just like, and yeah, it's on my living room wall,
How
framed
cool.
up.
Yeah,
Yeah,
man. Oh,
right next to
I'm
my,
glad it's got a great home. I mean,
yeah.
and it's funny because in the last story we did with Darwin is in the All-Star Western, the last issue, and it's actually in in the hardcover.
Hmm.
If you didn't get the omnibus, have you gotten it or no?
No, I
Not
haven't
yet.
yet.
Okay. So in the omnibus, it's actually different.
Oof,
It's the
really?
original. It's the original. Let me get. I'm gonna get. Oh, we're on radio. I can't.
Yeah.
They can't see it. I can
I
show
mean,
you.
you could show us. We'll
Yeah, I can
look.
show you guys. Just so you know, I'm not. I was told not to make a point about it. Um, but
But
it
we
was
Well,
won't
nobody
tell
listens to
anyone.
us anyway, Jimmy, so we're fine.
well, it was sort of. It was them. It was actually DC, which was really sweet of them to do. They're actually like, for that last issue, we're gonna put it like the way it was in. Let's see if you guys can.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh,
I totally
wow.
remember that.
You see, but you remember there was a big branch
Yeah,
in front of her.
right.
Um, so they said, well, in tribute to Darwin in this book, we're gonna put it like the original art. And I said, thank you so much. That was very cool of them. Um, but and on that last one, he insisted he'd do the last issue. We knew we were getting canceled. The end of the year told us, he said, look, that's gonna be your last issue. And I said, can we do a double issue? He's like, sure. Um, by the way, Dan DiDio, if it wasn't for him, there would have been zero Jonah Hex comics. By the way,
Mhm.
he's a huge fan of all the odd characters at DC. So he was the guy that kept going back and saying, "Hey, why don't we do a series on this? And why don't we try that?" So he's the one that okayed all the Jonah Hex stuff. But that last issue of Jonah Hex, I wanted to retro rewrite the Jonah Hex annual where they killed him in the past,
Yeah.
and because I felt like we needed to have some more stories for him one day. So I did that, and but anyway, I'm very proud of this gigantic omnibus that came out, but I'm really hoping they do one or two of the first 70 because there's so many artists. There's some artists that are no longer with us. There's some
Yeah.
artists that are big time artists, and
Yeah, I was about to say you have early appearances from some really, and I wanted to ask you about how you went about finding people because you've got a Fiona Staples issue, you've got a Jeff Lemire issue, and these are like it's like
oh
Staples' eighth credit, and Lemire's
we
like
have a. I'll tell you a quick story about the Dick Giordano issue.
okay,
Um,
Mm.
Dick Giordano's wife, I guess at the time, she called me because I knew Dick. I would see him at shows and said, "Look, Dick is very sick, and he's not going to live much longer. Um, he's had cancer." And she goes, "But he always wanted to draw an issue with Jonah Hex." And I said, "Say no more." Justin and I wrote that issue in 2 days, and we got it to Dick. And it's ironic, but it starts with a funeral, but that was on purpose in a weird way because if you read the story, you'll get it. Um, we got it to Dick right away. Dick drew it. handed it in. It came out. Dick got to do a signing with it, the book, the printed book, and then he passed away not too long after
Oh,
that. Um, but we were so thrilled that we got to get that for him. He just wanted to do that. It was like one of those things, and of course, I would never say no. I mean, he's the guy, he's Dick Giordano. Um,
Right.
but I honestly, like I said, one day they do the omnibus. I can literally, between Justin and I, we can write a story to each and every issue. Has a
Hmm.
story behind it. Like there's an issue that never was done by Jeff Darrow, which is a funny story
Oh,
because Jeff Darrow came. I talked to Jeff Darrow. I said, "Would you like to do an issue?" Jonah Hex. He goes, "Oh, I love what you're doing with the book. I want to draw. Yes, I'll draw an issue." I'm like, "Okay." We wrote him a story about where Jonah Hex had to, and I made it very Jeff Darrow. I got to admit because I'm a big fan of his. Where Jonah Hex is hired to help transfer an octopus out of San Francisco to a circus, right? And he gets the script and he goes, "I love it." He goes, "But it's like you wrote it for me. I just wanted to do two guys on the street with guns." He goes, "So I'm going to pass on this one." So who did we get? We get Eduardo Riso, and he drew that.
right. I was about to say.
And that's a fun issue. That's like a
Yeah.
yeah.
but originally that was written for Jeff. Okay, and you
Okay.
can see it if you look at that with the circuit. Jeff would have went crazy on the octopus, the whole thing, right?
Hmm.
And then there was another issue we wrote for Jeff, and we said, okay, let's try it again. And we wrote another issue for him. Finally got it to him. He goes, "This is great." I'm like, "Terrific." And he goes, "Okay, but I got bad news." I'm like, "What is it?" He goes, my DC rate kind of sucks. So I can't really do this for the money they're offering. And I was like, ah, you know. So, so guess what? That didn't get done. So we never got Jeff Darrow because DC wouldn't pay him more for it.
Right.
Which was a shame because the other story, I think it went to we tweaked it because it went to Jordy. And when I met Jordy in Spain, I met him in Barcelona. He asked me a favor. He said, "On the stories, can you have humor in my stories? Give me a little bit of humor." And he said, "And I like to draw the ladies. So if you can make sure they have these elements in my stories." And so that's why we have like, there's one where he has these like three girls. It's always in Jordy's story, there's always, some girls or some craziness. We had one where a bunch of nuns are beating him with sticks, and he was like, "That's fantastic. That's funny." He goes, "I leave," and we had a bullfighter one because, of course,
Yep.
Jordy lives in Barcelona and they're bullfighting.
Right.
So
Yeah.
we did a bullfighting one. So they each have like they're very aimed at artists, and like even J.H. Williams did an issue that's beautiful.
Yep. Hmm.
It's probably one of the most screwed up stories in the whole run, okay? But it took JH like a year. He had a year
Wow.
to do that. And I think at some point he felt bad it took so long, so he started doing some black and white paintings on the rear on the edges. Like it's such a beautiful book.
Yeah.
But we had a lot of that. In 70 issues, we definitely had a lot of interesting people that would either come to me and Justin, or we would go to a convention and walk up to them. Brian Stelfreeze is one I walk up to, and I said, "Do you want? Can you do a Jonah Hex story?" And he goes, "What's the deadline?" I said, "A year." And he goes, "Yeah, yeah." I'm like, "Okay." By the way, they all do them like 2 weeks before it's due.
Right.
It's not like anybody's sitting there for a year. Um,
Right.
but I will say, Dan DiDio said that when we finished our 70 issue run, it won an award for the book that came out 70 weeks in a row in the first week of the month for 70 weeks in a row. He says, "You guys never miss shipping. It always came out the first week." And I said, "Yeah, because we had them being worked on 6 or 7 at a time."
Yeah.
Um, but anyway, yeah, I mean, one day, or if we're going to ever do a show, we can go through each issue and I can tell you a little story about each. Like, but that's the fanatic. We're going to only have like two people listening to it before they put a gun in their own
I
mouth.
mean, I feel like that's our show half the time anyway, which doesn't
Yeah.
mean, but
I
what
mean,
I have found is I have 300 downloads somewhere like once a week. So like you do it once and 5 years later somebody finds it and they listen to it all.
Yeah, look, when I kick the bucket, you can play the show and people go, "Oh yeah." I remember when he
well,
was alive. He was quite alive.
I,
You
I,
know,
I mean, all I can really say about it is, and I know we want to talk about other projects, but you know, I have a lot of stuff in my
Love it.
room, and I finally had to sort of cull a whole bunch of my monthlies, donated them to libraries and stuff like that.
Sure.
And the one thing I was like adamant, I was like, I am never giving up those 70 issues of Jonah Hex. I just it really I don't want to end up sounding like Chris Farley, you know, but
He
it
did
that
do a Chris
series,
Farley imitation in our last Jonah Hex
yeah,
issue
it's
about
it
the
that's
Darwin.
oh yeah. Well, I love Darwin and but that series means a lot to me.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
thank
so
you. I
yeah.
appreciate. I really appreciate that. I feel it's, I feel. I think if you wait long enough, you're alive long enough, I feel somewhere somebody's going to get those 70 issues out and then people are going to discover it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like I don't know, they don't because they don't tell you anything. I don't know how the All-Star Western one did. And All-Star Western had editorial talking to us, right? They were like saying, "This is going to get canceled unless you do something crazy." And we kept going crazy. But in the backups, we kind of did our own thing anyway. And don't get me wrong, I had fun writing All Star Western. It was insane, but it was one big story, right? It was this gigantic story that literally they would call me up, say, "You have to put Booster Gold in next issue." I'm like, "How?" And they're like, "Well, you got to figure that out. But we need Booster Gold, and if you can do this and then," and they're like, "All right, we need Superman in it. Can you put Superman?" I'm like, "Yeah." And I said, I think that was the funny thing. I said, if Superman picked up Jonah Hex, he'd probably throw up from flying. He's not used to, and he does in the comic. He throws up. But it's like that was editorially driven, and it kind of makes sense why they collected that first, and not the books we originally did.
Yeah.
But I think I'd like it to be collected, and I like people to see it before I die. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
After I'm dead, I have no idea, right? Nobody knows what the hell.
Well, I mean, I just think that collection of artists, it's like we talk about it
Yeah.
all the time when we're doing the
So
show.
who's
It's like
who?
Yeah,
it's
I
a
mean,
murderer's row. Yeah.
I thought for sure. As a matter of fact, I pitched a collection of just Geordie, and I said, "Can we do them in black and white?" And they're like, "Nobody will buy it." And I'm just like, "Okay." I mean, that's what I get all the time. I mean, look,
I would have bought that.
I
Amanda, my wife, and I hit DC up every year and say, "Can we do another Power Girl series?" And every year they tell us no. And every year they tell us nobody will buy it. They say something like that, right?
Right.
But the collected trade for Power Girl keeps selling out. Okay. And I keep telling them, I'm like, "What printing of this book is it?" And you guys still don't get it. So, like, it's like I'm talking to like a wall, like I don't think, and I personally think that I don't think a lot of them go to comic stores. I don't think a lot of the people that work in comics actually buy comics and read them. I think they did when they were younger, but I don't
Right.
think they actually currently read stuff. I don't think a lot of them. Of course, there are a couple that do, but man, I always like always blows my mind. I'm like I sit there at signings and people go, "When are you guys gonna do Power Girl again?" And I'm just like, "Yeah, they have no interest in that." And they're like, "How would that?" I mean, we literally pitched something and they told us it probably wouldn't sell, and I was like, "Okay, but it will sell better than your bottom 30 books
Mhm.
in a heartbeat." And so I just move on. I move to other things. That's
Well, I can pivot to that because I am also a massive fan of that Power Girl series. You guys like you and Amanda are that Power Girl, Terra, the Starfire series, like all of it. I every time you guys put out a book, I was like, I'm there, I'm there,
that
I'm
was
there.
Dan DiDio called that the Jamanda universe, Jimmy and Amanda. He's like
Yeah.
he's like you don't have to. I said, "Can we not worry about continuity and keep it in its own And he's like, "If for some reason it works for you guys," he goes,
Mhm.
"So do it." And mine and Amanda's attitude on it was comics. We always used to say, "Is it fun?" Like we go, "Is it fun?" Like it's flirty, it's sexy, it's cute, it's weird, it's goofy. it's grounded in a weird way. And for Power Girl and for like Terra and for like even Starfire, when I first got Starfire, people hated it. They were like, "What did you do to Star?" And I said, I put Starfire in a blender. I put all the different ones I read. I threw them in a blender, and including the cartoon, which I like, the Teen Titans Go. And I said,
Yeah.
here's the version that popped out. Bing. And I was like, and a lot of these series do better after they come out and they're collected, and then all of a sudden people start discovering late. Power Girl was like that. Terra was like that, and we wanted to always call her Atlee, but they had a the copyright was running out on Terra, and they made us call it
Mm.
Terra, but we always call her Atlee. And then when they gave us Starfire, they were just like, just do what Jimmy and Amanda would do on Starfire, and we are like, well. I said, after I read, because I didn't really know Starfire that well, so after I read them all, I said, well, she's a bit of a hedonistic person, and Amanda's like, she's a totally hedonist. She doesn't have any of the hangups, and I said, well, I think we should move her to Key West. I think she should live in Key West. I said, it kind of like you can be that person down there without having making a stink, and like that was our stupid thinking on that, but. We had so much fun doing those 12 issues. And again, like later on, the trades did very well. Like the
Yeah.
trades always sell. So it doesn't, I mean, look, we're doing Harley and Elvira, and that I think the number 3 comes out tomorrow.
That sounds right.
It's the most insane comic. It's insane. Okay. I mean, we're also dealing with Cassandra Peterson, right? Because
Right.
she's looking at our dialogue and rewriting it in places. She's like, no, it's got to be dirtier. And I'm like, okay. And but it has our tone. When Amanda and I work together, it has that tone, which is we're just kind of trying to have fun. And there was a point. Look, I always say I know how to do dark comics. I mean, I wrote Jonah Hex with Justin. I said I could do really dark. Um, but I like to flip the switch and say, okay, I can do really fun too. I think fun is, but I also think humor is the toughest thing for comic writers to do. I think because I also think a lot of it. Amanda and I have a sense of humor in our everyday lives. We laugh at the stupidest things, and that comes through in what we do. Um, but when I see other people trying to copy what we do, it always comes out weird to me. Like it's always
Mm.
like trying too hard. And that could just be me protecting myself and my workload. But
Well,
but I do
yeah.
see it. Sometimes I look at when other people did Power Girl after us, I always felt like fake Power Girl. Like I
Yeah.
would just say right away, I just go, nah, that's not really Power Girl. That's like you
Oh, no.
change the name, you change the look. I'm like, there was nothing wrong with our Power Girl. You just do the same thing. Even the writer after us kind of right away killed the mom, killed, not killed the mom, but she killed people like where she worked. And I was like, why are you touching that? Like the fans love that continuity. And I think that's what comics got away from continuity, so much so that the entire DC line is being replaced by an entirely new DC line.
Mhm.
And I always used to say, if you have to do what if stories for characters, you're probably just not writing the character right. You know, I get
Yeah.
it if you say Superman is the size of Godzilla, that's kind of fun. Okay, but if you're doing a what if where it's just like really something, or Elseworlds they called it, or what any of that,
Yeah.
I always say, why are you running out of stories with this character? Character's great. There's a million stories you could tell, but again, I'm ranting, so let's pull it back to Power Girl.
Well,
Well,
well, I
So
was.
Power Girl is in issue 3 of Harley Quinn Elvira.
oh.
Okay, so that comes out tomorrow. Power Girl is in it. Amanda even drew 2 pages of it. It is our Power Girl. Like nothing ever happened. She's still in Brooklyn. She still has the same cat, and Harley's still trying to stick her face between her boobs all the time. So nothing really has changed there.
I appreciate so much because actually when I read your books with Amanda,
Right.
it makes me think of my own marriage. It's our own way of communicating with each other. And I think you're absolutely right. I think like it is sexy and it's flirty, but it doesn't feel like exploitative or God forbid misogynistic or anything like that. You know,
Right.
it feels like a fully rounded female character that owns their own sexuality.
Yeah, I think it's a, Amanda has a, Amanda's my secret weapon. I can write the craziest stuff and she'll somehow make it not seem as dirty. Um, and I will give you an example because Garth Ennis also understands this because
I was about to say.
when we did the pro, we were like, if
uh,
anybody else draws this, we're the most misogynistic pieces of crap on earth. But you hand it to Amanda, and Amanda's actually got a filthier mind than both of us. And then she makes it like I remember when the pro came out, people were like, I know she's a prostitute and I know this happened, but I really feel for her, with the baby. And I was just like, well, I said that is a superpower because the way we grew up is we're supposed to have empathy and understanding for everyone.
Right.
So the idea that it became socially cool to be a bully to people or to be shitty to people that aren't like you, that's something that goes against comic book readers, right?
Right.
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 We learn when we grew up is everyone deserves a chance, everybody wants the same things, no matter what color, no matter where they come from. Everyone wants to just have a normal life, be able to eat, have wife, kids, husband, kids, wants the kids to do well.
And spider webs.
Right, and this is like, yeah, but it's like it's such a simple thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, Amanda is always our secret weapon. We have a book Amanda and I are working on. It probably won't come out for another year and a half, 2 years. That is so crazy. But if she wasn't drawing it, I'd probably be thrown in jail for it. So
I can't wait.
but
You'll have
she's
to come
doing
back
it
together.
she's doing it so they'll. And by the way, when Amanda and I work together, where we're writing together, like Starfire or like Harley Quinn, if fans don't like it, they say I wrote it.
Right.
And if they really like it, they say, Amanda kind of really knocked it out of the park this issue. They always do that, and we always get a giggle out of it because I'm like, boy, oh boy, man, they're just afraid to say anything negative about her. It's like a superpower she has, man.
Well, I mean, clearly she's the better half, right?
Absolutely, 100%. I tell her nobody's gonna miss me when I'm gone. When you're gone, they're all gonna be crying and weeping and doing all that stuff.
I mean,
Work with Amanda. I have to ask about your Wednesday comics.
Yes.
Because
yeah.
that's just one of my favorite projects, period, that DC has done in
Fantastic.
forever.
Mhm.
But your story with Supergirl and Crypto, and I can't remember the cat's name right now, but
Stinky and
something
Speedy.
like that.
Speedy.
Speedy.
Yeah, we call
Right.
it, that's Power Girls is Stinky. That Speedy is the other one. Yeah.
Right. Was just like it was the comic relief every issue. But then when I was talking to Mark Chiarello about it, and he said that like you guys were actually doing stories week by week. What was it like to work at that pace, to do that?
So we
like
we actually two things happened, right? Because when he said that like Sunday comic strips, we realized we have to have a beginning and an end on each page,
right.
right? A lot of people didn't pay attention to that, right? But we did. We were like, well, it's Sunday pages. So okay,
Right.
the other thing was the first call I got about it was, do you know how to write like for all ages? Because they called me up. Do you know how to write for all ages? And I'm like, what do you mean? They're like, we want you and Amanda to do a Supergirl, but we don't want it dark. And I said, yeah, I write anything. I mean, that's easy. And they're like, no, really. I mean, you need to write her. She's a young girl. And I'm just like, guys, I'm like, it's storytelling. I said, and of course it was my idea that, I wanted to put Aquaman in there because I thought he's like a goofy character. I mean, he has a shell phone. That's so ridiculous. When we handed them in, and Amanda did them giant size. They're like 3 times the size of a regular comic page. They're gigantic, right?
No,
When we handed them in and with the story and everything, I was just like, oh man, I hope this works. Like people are just going to either hate me for this or whatever, because I kind of made Supergirl like a little emotional, and and crazy, pulling her hair out a little bit, and
Yeah.
not being able to control the super pets, which would be realistic. Um, and then even Aquaman giving her a little crap in it, you know. Um, but I was like, but Amanda and I always talked about Supergirl. I was like, it's a young girl, so she should be a little crazed, you know, a little
All right.
emotional. Um, yeah, and I was really happy that people liked it because I was like, look at the heavy hitters in this book. Like we're like the goofy, you know, light part of the book. Everything's so
But you're still
intense.
heavy hitters.
Yeah, they're all heavy. Oh, you have
I mean,
Cubits
yeah,
in
that book.
there.
Yep.
You
Yeah,
had
yeah.
Paul Pope. You
Paul
had
Pope,
like all of a sudden Amanda and I are like,
Azarello and Rizzo, Kyle
yeah, we were
Baker.
like, you know what? We just got to do what we do best. We got to make it fun and make it easy to read. Like just you can easy to
Yeah.
follow, you know,
Yeah.
and it worked out. I mean, you know, I think that helped get us some other jobs because people saw I was able to, you know, they knew me for doing Jonah Hex. Could the Jonah Hex guy
Right.
write this young girl with dealing with pets? And I was, for me, it's all the same. It's just you have to, you know, change the background music while I'm writing, you know.
Right. Not, yeah, that's yeah, it's like I just yeah. I absolutely I did this is kind of off subject, but like
Sure.
I'm a very kind of limited original art collector, so I try to get one piece by
I
artists
see a
that I
page
love.
behind you. I see a page
Yeah,
behind you on
it's
the floor.
that's
Yep.
Ramita Jr. and I have a Kevin McGuire up there.
Awesome.
But like, and every year, Sean and I go to San Diego every year, and I always have like a get list, like who I'm looking for.
Right.
And Amanda's been on that list for.
Oh, so the easy way to get Amanda is you just tell me what you're looking for. Because and here's the thing that's gonna so I have to explain this once in a while. We do have some Amanda's work on paperfilms.com, right? But not a
Sure,
lot.
yeah.
Not a lot. We sell stuff when people ask for it, right?
Oh,
But we both, Amanda and I both decided because we watch a lot of our artist friends sell all their art and then they get older and they have nothing.
right.
It happens all the time. So people have to ask us about something like, "Hey, do you have any pages from this?" And I'll always say, "Yeah, let me see what are you looking for? Let me see what I got." Um, the other thing is we both decided that we're in work mode now, right? So we should be working and not spending time selling artwork. And
Right. Yeah,
we
yeah.
don't want to give it to a dealer because dealers look at it like, hey, you know, I'll give them the whole, you know, maybe 112 pages of Harley Quinn and the Birds of Prey, which Amanda did on
Right.
oversized page. And they'll be like, well, since it's 112, how about you give it to me a little cheaper? And I'm just like, no, 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 no,
Yeah.
no, you know. And she also has things like, you know, if somebody's going to buy the Supergirl page, which are giant, she wants them to buy the whole story, not the one page,
Right.
right? Um, so so I tell you, and you have my email, just hit me up and tell me what you're looking for, and let me see what I got. Um,
Okay.
you know, we put
I.
things up on the site once in a while. We go to OAX, which is this year, it's February in
Mhm.
Orlando, and Amanda puts together a portfolio of stuff to bring. And then people flip through it, and we usually sell a bunch of stuff. Some pages, people love covers, even though they, you know, they're expensive, but people want covers. We get
Right.
it. Um, but she's not super expensive. She also brings like she did like these book soul searches and a couple of older books. They're like a
Right.
couple $100 a page, 150, $200 a page, 250. People buy those like crazy. Gargoyles, I think we sold most of the pages. She just put them out for a
Yeah.
couple $100 each. And um, but we're
Yeah.
not
Most of.
aggressive with selling. We're not Jim Lee, and we're not these guys that keep dumping it with the dealer.
Right.
We're busy making comics. So
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, and that's
I
awesome. I
like
love
busy
that.
You know
making
Darwin
comics.
Cook, Darwin hardly ever sold anything. When Darwin passed away, he had a stack as like
Wow.
at least maybe 4 feet high of his pages, you know. And his widow, Marcia, gives Albert Moy like a big stack every year or so, right? Twice a year.
Yeah,
Um,
no, I know a bunch of artists are like when I was talking to Paul Pope like a month ago,
yeah,
uh the guy I had co-hosting with me that night brought up a page from that meant something to him from like a comic that came out almost 20 years ago. And Paul's like, hold on. He walks across the room and he comes back. This one?
Yeah, that Paul, he's such a lovable guy. I love Paul.
Yeah, Paul's great.
I think his sister lives down here, so I see him every once in a while. He comes over
The
and
one that makes the toys?
what's that?
He's got a sister that makes they're like build your own kid fort type
Oh no, no.
toys. Yeah.
Most of my guy friends don't talk about their sisters around me, but
Okay. No, he just
anyway,
I have grandkids, so it came up the first time we talked.
right, right. No, Paul is one of those guys. I mean, he's just working all the time.
Yeah.
A lot of people say, you guys disappear for a while, and I always go, yeah, we're working, man. I I did the opposite.
But
Like I disappeared last year, and then I noticed this year I have 4 books coming out a month for the next 6 months, and I'm
right,
just like, okay, well, that's accumulation of a lot of work, and I
right.
hate when it does that. I want just one book a month. I want it to last a while, but I literally tell everybody after March I don't have anything except for my Deadly Tales of the Gunslinger, and that's
Well,
you know.
I was just reading that for the first time today and noticing kind of the similarities and differences from Jonah Hex. So first, give us the front counter pitch. If you were selling it
Yeah.
at the
So
comic shop, who do you sell that to?
so if you like Spawn, you should buy it. Okay. His best-selling book is the Gunslinger book. But Todd writes the Gunslinger book. It's the character I'm writing in present day. Okay.
Okay.
I am writing the Gunslinger in the 1800s, and he has no idea what is going on with him, but he became this character, and he's just at this point the back story is he's looking for his sister, but the day-to-day stuff is he's just trying to figure out what the hell's going on with him, and because he gets kind of butchered pretty well, and then instead of dying he becomes this like really disgusting looking Western character that is got a lot of history. And when Todd McFarlane hired me for the book, he asked me to do a couple of things. The first thing he says, I don't have a lot of backstory on his character. Build a Bible. So I have a 22-page Bible on his character, where his grandparents came from, where his parents lived, how he became the gunslinger. I need that to write this because he wants me to do some world building. Um, and the other thing for me is like, okay, I don't want to get to where Todd is in my book, right? Because that's later.
Mhm.
But I also don't want to do stories that are all about demons and monsters and everything. So I tried to write the Gunslinger as a straight Western with crazy stuff going on. Sometimes, and look, by the third issue, I think I had a horror house full of women
Yep.
break through the wall. Did you guys see that movie? Excuse me, Weapons? Did you
Yeah,
guys see that?
Mhm.
Okay.
great.
Before the movie came out, I had the scene where these prostitutes, there's like 30 of them, and they start becoming these demon-like women, and they start running like crazy, and they run through the walls, and then they grab the gunslinger and push him out the second floor of the building. Like they just keep going through the walls. And when I saw Weapons, I started laughing out loud. I'm like, that's how it's gonna look if somebody ever makes this into a movie. It's gonna look just like those kids running through the walls. I was laughing out loud. But Gunslinger, it's very. If you like Jonah Hex, you'll like the Gunslinger because, man, the artwork that Patrick Reynolds does on it is just stunning, and it gets meaner per issue. Like I'm really digging in. I think issue 13, 14, and 15 are my best. And it's like and they have to deal with it's Gunslinger dealing with this Captain Lane, this guy that screwed him. Uh, just it's a long story, but he screwed him really bad, and he's getting back to get the guy, but the guy becomes possessed by a demon, so he's now a little bit bigger than life, and it's brutal. I mean, it's brutal. I've done a ton of research with American Indians on this because he has like a sidekick, this girl that's with him, and it's a crazy book. And the third thing, getting to the third thing, Todd asked me to do. He said, "Can you stay on this for a long time?" I says, I need you to launch this and I need you to stay on it for a while, not for 10 issues, not for 12, but like for 20 or 30. And he said, could you do that? He goes, because I want to give this to you, but I need a commitment because I want you to really build up this world. And I said, dude, I said, I prefer to do that. I said, I can't stand 4 issues of a series. Or I want to do 30 or 40. I mean, Harley Quinn, I did 105 right out of the gate. Jonah Hex was probably like over 100 issues, maybe 108 or something like that. I said, I prefer that because the readers want to do that consistency in the team. They want the same writer on a book. I want the same writer on a book. I hate when it changes 30 times. And
Right.
so yeah, so Gunslinger is a Western with supernatural backgrounds. It is it doesn't say it on the comic, but it's a mature audience's book because there is nudity and there is ultra violence on it.
I
I
think that's
didn't know
just assumed for Spawn.
I guess. I mean, I didn't know. I know the violence part, but I remember when I think issue 2 or 3 he drew some of the prostitutes topless, and I was like, "Are we allowed to do that?" And he's like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, great, man. That's fantastic." That's how I like. Look, I'm a heavy metal kid. I grew up with heavy metal. I mean, I
Hey,
like,
that's another one of our book
yeah,
clubs.
man. I like my TNA. I like my TNA in a comic. I'm like, I eat meat and pizza and I drink beer. So and I figure, I normally with a job I try to see where the limits, like how far I can push things. Um, with Todd, it's like do whatever you want, man. I'm like, great. What a great boss, what a great place to work for. And maybe they'll fire me tomorrow, who knows? But I I'm
I hope
writing
not.
I'm writing 16 and 17 and 18 right now.
Yeah,
I've been such
11 was in stores this past week. This coming
Oh,
week
okay.
we have Harley Quinn X Elvira and
Right.
Daredevil Punisher Devil's
Yes.
Trigger #2.
Number 2.
You're
Yeah,
also doing
man.
the Punisher
World to Come, the Marvel
yeah,
Knights World
World
to
to
Come.
Come
Yeah.
and the Marvel Knights.
Yeah.
And Blue Falcon and Dynamite. That's the one that I didn't manage to read any of yet.
Yes.
Tell
So
me
Blue
about Blue
Falcon and
Falcon. Why
Dynamite
should
is Blue Falcon and Dynamite was the toughest job out of all of them.
okay.
When you write something that people, it's when I watched the cartoons and I realized I'm in trouble because there's there's not a lot there. There's not a lot
Yo,
there. Like the dog was like, okay, Captain Paul, whatever. It was goofy. Okay, Blue Falcon, here I come. Boing, so all that stuff going on. So I said, well, I need to John Wick this up a little bit, because it's otherwise I'm gonna get bored. The worst thing is me getting bored. Um, so it kind of made them go after his dog, and we get to see the origin of Dynomutt. Um, and then it gets a little crazy after that, but it's in tone with the character and the story. And if they gave me a second series, like if I did another miniseries, I know where to go completely insane with it. Like now I understand it. But I had to get to the point where who is this guy? Like who is he and why is this dog, what's going on here, And it's not easy to do because it's not very defined. Everybody has their version of it, which is kind of funny because they're all based on a cartoon that really has no story.
right.
Um, so I don't know if they're going to offer me another one, but if they do, I absolutely know where to take it. I actually need to take it into more of a Power Girl type tone,
Okay.
and make Blue Falcon a little bit more of a dog. Of course, I have his 2 girlfriends, an ex-girlfriend and another one in this
Mhm.
book. But given another series, I'd probably go a little more crazy. That said, it's a fun book. It'll make a nice trade. Um, these books I have coming out could not be any more different from each other. The World to Come, I mean, I did that with Dan Panosian. It's beautiful. I talked them into letting me put obituaries in the back of the
I
comic.
like the obituaries. The
Yeah.
obituaries are
I
cool.
I wanted 3 things because there's a mission statement. When you read the first one, it's Punisher talking to you.
It's in the third one too.
It's in the third one too. Okay, I didn't even see it
Yeah.
yet. Um, and I felt like it's very important to say that out loud to anybody that wants to know, because this is a character. This is Frank Castle a little older, right? Um, and the obits, and the third thing I had was I wanted to do old man brain. Where you scan the phone and it takes you to a website. What do you
QR
call it?
code.
Oh, a QR code.
Yeah. So I wanted to do a QR code with me and Dan talking about the series every issue. So,
Huh?
like when you were
Oh.
done reading it, we would walk you through what we were thinking in it.
Oh,
They didn't go for that.
they didn't go for that. I
No.
was about to say, did I miss something?
But I did get the mission statement, and I did
Yeah.
get to write obituaries. So that obituaries I always wanted to do in a Punisher comic, and that's the first time somebody said yes to me. And the Punisher state and the mission statement was another yes. So I thought 2 out of 3 ain't bad, you know.
No, no.
Um,
And I mean, you and Dan can come talk about it here.
Yeah,
I'll let you.
I
you
just,
know.
but I
You
just
have
ima-
an outlet on 22 panels anytime you want,
you know,
Jimmy.
and thank you so much. And we will. We should get Dan and I together on that one. My thing is, if you're paying $5 for a comic, I feel like there should be more stuff in it. I feel like I feel like we should take advantage of technology. How great would it be if every comic you did, you could scan this thing and it goes to a YouTube video?
I mean, you're working a ton, so I don't know how much you managed to read new comics. Have you read Chris Condon and Jeffrey Allen Love's News from the Fallout?
No. Do they do
Okay.
that in it?
You got to look for this stuff. They don't
Okay.
do it as like just a QR code.
Oh, they
But
stick
they
it
s-
in the background or something,
They
right?
set up a website. They set up a phone number.
I don't
mean,
like
there's
that.
all
I don't
sorts
like
of
that.
stuff that that they did around the comic. Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic. I got to check that out.
Yeah, I mean, not a phone number that you call and you get to talk to them. A phone number where they've got like a message set up that fits
Right.
in with the comic.
I mean, I would put somebody I can't stand's phone number, you know? Like you look at like the White House's phone number. Yeah, call them and complain. But
I was going to say, and who is that, Jimmy?
you know,
I know we're running up against your time limit. I want to quickly
we go a
ask,
little bit more. I'm okay
Right.
with it. So, you know,
Yeah. I want to quickly ask you about Pop Kill.
okay.
Just because I loved that, and the hardcover comes out in February.
Yes.
And I gotta wonder, just because like you've got the twin rival business partners, like
Yes.
did this come out of Adidas Puma or
It actually
just-
came out of Dave Johnson's brain.
okay.
Well, we thought, you know, Coke Pepsi, right? We thought Coke
Right,
Pepsi.
right.
And what makes that even worse is if they're twin brothers that you know.
No, I don't know if you know, but Adidas Puma is the same they're the same family, but they
are
split
they?
like years ago, and like they literally split a town. Like they're in the same town in Italy, and like
I did not know that.
yeah,
But it kind of
they're
makes sense.
serious
right?
rivals.
It kind of makes sense. I mean, we did stupid things like their buildings are near each other and they
Right.
put Post-its on the window.
Yeah.
You know, look, we wrote this, we did Pop Kill. Dave wanted to write more comics and he says, "You're a good collaborator. Would you want to write something, help me out?" And, and I said, "What's the idea?" And he pitched it to me and I said, "Okay, let's take the robots out of it," because he had some other crazy stuff. I said,
Right.
but let's see if we can ground this like in a real world a little bit, and then we can get crazy and colorful with the characters. And we did it as 3 Kickstarters, and
Okay.
and they did very well. And we were like, okay, we know why it's doing well because we put hot girls on the cover. But something happened where people were like, well, actually, we're reading it and the story is a lot of fun. And I'm like, yeah, I said it's my version of James Bond, like, but 10 times more misogynistic, like 10 times, like and completely.
But there's also the really smart girl in the middle of it.
Oh no, there's always a
I
smart.
mean, was that
in my
Amanda?
books. Yeah, my books, the women are always smarter than the men. They're always smart. They're
Isn't that
actually
the
based
opposite
on
of
reality.
misogynistic, though?
Me no, but
At least for the book.
for the book, I can write that character like that. It's funny to write him because he steps on his own feet when he's walking.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
All the time. And deep down, he's lovable, but he's also an a-hole. But
Right.
my thing is, we've learned this with modern TV is like you can hate people.
Yes.
Mhm.
And Game of Thrones taught us that, right? The people in
Oh yeah.
episode one we hated, by second season we loved them. So
Uh,
it
what
just
you can't is not be interested in them.
right. No, no, they have to
If you
be.
don't like them and you don't care, that's a
Yes.
bad thing.
No, I in my writing, I tend to base characters on people, so they do different things than I normally would, right? It's very important that everybody doesn't act like you because then your comics become, you know. Um, but yeah, that was I forgot what we're talking about for a second here. Um,
Pop kill.
Pop Kill.
Pop Kill.
So yeah, so with Pop Kill, we I was we were talking to actually Mark Irwin at Mad Cave was talking to Dave, and they said they'd be interested in doing a deal with us on it, and we're like, okay. I said, but I did a Kickstarter and I'm very loyal to my Kickstarter people, so I said they can have the books, but they can have none of the covers from my Kickstarters,
Oh.
and so we had to get new people to do that stuff and everything. We never thought it would sell. It's one of their best sellers that last year, this year.
Yeah.
We never thought it would sell, but the joke was, people read it and were like, oh, that was a lot of fun. And I'm like, man, fun always wins,
It
Fun always
does.
wins.
Well,
F-
I mean,
I-
I'll tell you, I somehow it slipped under my radar completely.
Right.
And Tad was, I think it was on the last Jonah Hex thing
Yeah,
we were talking
Sunday.
about. He described this plot to me, and I'm like, that sounds like the most amazingly fun thing in the world. And I've got it. I've actually got it all set. I've got it in my shopping cart. I'm actually working on I've got a writing project going on right now, so I'm a little neck deep in that.
All good.
But it's like as soon as I get a moment, I'm going to read that whole thing. I can't wait.
Mark, it's
It sounds,
ridiculous.
It
Mark,
is.
it's
it sounds
ridiculous.
fantastic.
Ridiculous.
It's ridiculous. But it's charming and it literally, and I guess because Tad, you read it. I don't know. Sean disappeared.
I did.
Sean exploded. But Tad read it. It is like at its core, it's a very traditional boy-girl story. Right.
Yeah.
Mhm.
At its core. But it gets wacky and the villains are colorful and
Oh, the
Um,
villains are insane.
yeah, they're insane. And basically, it is a story just about espionage of the soda companies.
Right.
Um, we honestly thought nobody would buy this, and we got a buddy of mine, Juan Santa Cruz, who does my Painkiller Jane books, to do the series, and Juan killed it on it, man. It's just beautiful. There is not a lazy panel in that comic, the backgrounds, the action. He really just Juan is just man. It's just I fight people because they try to steal them for their books, and I fight them. I'm like, you can't have him. And I've been working for him since 2001. I've been working with him. We did a book called The Resistance years ago together, and in like 2000, in the year 2000, I've been working with him ever since. And but yeah, Pop Kill is just man. I mean, and Mad Cave is putting out seasonal reprints of the one shot. So there's like these.
There's a Valentine's Day one.
Yeah, they have
Isn't there?
Valentine's Day one, and then there's probably a July. So I don't know, whatever holiday they find. They doing, we call that milking it, but hey, like I said, I'd rather Mad Cave do it. When the big guys do it, I get a little because I'm like, you guys
Yeah.
got all the money already.
Right.
I always say the smaller companies need to hustle harder.
Right.
Like Dynamite. Dynamite needs to hustle all the time. Mad Cave has to hustle because they're competing with. They put out Batman and has 47 covers, and it's like it's not the covers. It's the idea that regular guy goes in there with $60 and that's all the money he has.
Right.
And I hate that. I'd rather him come out with 15 different books than 60 copies of the same book. It's like
Which is also why I love that Mad Cave and Dynamite and Vault and Oni have been really like focusing on. They might do some superhero stuff, but they're doing really interesting stories that are not necessarily so like they understand maybe we're not going to be able to take the superhero money, but maybe we get somebody else to come into the comic shop for Pop Kill that
Right.
wasn't coming in for Batman at all.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I look at comics like I look at music when I buy music. There's the big movie music companies, and they have the albums they already know are going to do really well,
Right.
but they're going to milk you. They're going to put out 16 versions of the vinyl, and they're going to, but but I've always been a little more new wave punk rock kind of
Yep.
underground stuff. So I look at comics like that. I look at like the smaller companies, a little more punk rock to me, a little more underground. They don't have the same rules, and again, I understand everybody loves Batman and the X-Men. I get it, but as I get older, it's harder to really feel passionate about, oh, he let the Joker go away again. Yeah, like all that stuff. It's a little repetitious, and I'm happy people love it, but I definitely need some punk rock music once in a while, and
Yeah.
I need some shit that's just off the hook crazy. Um, and I do off the hook crazy. I do like writing things that, as a friend of mine reminds me all the time, that shit never sells, and I'm like, yeah, whatever. I'm like,
You're like, I got a roof over my head. It sells well enough.
my whole attitude with it is it's in my head, so I need to get it.
Right.
I I
Yeah.
am I am convinced all our brains are like a one level parking lot, and they have like if it's 100 cars and we have 100 cars, and unless you move one of those cars out, you can't put a new one in.
No, you
So
Mhm.
can't.
for me, it's like all those cars are stories. I am like I am so excited when I'm done with something that I've had in my head for 10 years and it's
Yeah.
out, because now I
Mhm.
got room to do something else. And I really feel that way, that visual is exactly how my brain feels. And then you get thrown odd things like when they say, "Hey, would you want to do Elvira and Harley?" And I'm just like, I would have never thought of that, but what can we do with that? Uh,
Yeah, no, I gotta say that like that sort of pairing used to be
Yeah.
the thing that I'd go, really? And then I read Alex DeCampi's Archie versus Predator, and I went,
right.
holy shit. And it's like, okay, if you could do this with Archie versus Predator, never again am I gonna look at a comic and go, what the hell are they thinking? I'm gonna
Yeah, I
go
mean, not
find
not
out
all.
what the hell they're thinking.
Yeah, not all crossovers work. Obviously, they
No,
don't
they
all
don't
work.
always work, but
Um,
I
Yeah.
now no longer think that just the concept couldn't possibly work.
right. It's funny because your readers can't see this, but the second issue has uh Harley holding ice cream cone, and it looks like Elvira's boobs, right?
Fire. Right,
Right, right.
right.
Well, Amanda originally had cherries on the,
Of course.
and they were like, "No way." So when Amanda signs the comic now, she draws little
She
cherries on
draws the
his
cherries.
Nice. Well, I mean, actually, to me, like those two characters kind of like in my
Me
head.
too.
I haven't read it yet.
Yeah,
I tend to let miniseries finish and then read the whole
sure.
thing. So,
Yeah, yeah.
but I mean, like those two characters to me seem like they would bounce off each other really well.
Yeah, it's really. Yeah, I mean, it's the only the exciting part and the tough part is that she's involved. So I have to wait until she okays everything, and it's like she usually makes things a little crazier. And then once in a while she'll have like a moment where she'll be like, well, that's a little too far. And I'm like, oh, okay. You know, but we have a lot of people have to okay it because everyone at DC has to okay it. And then there's the
Right,
licensors, and it's one of
right.
those comics that, when it's done, I think the editor will be going on vacation. I think Joe will be taking a little time off there after that. But that's the nature of the beast. You take on a monster, you have to wrangle it.
Yeah.
All right. I gotta ask my favorite closing question.
Okay.
Tell me
She
something
was
you
dead when I
love.
got there. That's my favorite episode. Good.
Tell me something you love, preferably
Okay.
a comic, but we don't have rules. Preferably storytelling, but again with the rules, but something that you love that not enough people around you have experienced and you want them to, you need them to, so that you have more people to talk about it with.
Oh, so it's funny because I don't when I'm with my comic book friends, we don't talk about the comics. Um, We talk about the editors. We talk about how shitty we're paid. We talk about we talk about a lot of things, but we don't talk about the actual
Comics.
content of the books. As a matter of fact, I'm not convinced any of my friends read anything I write. Okay, I'm not convinced. Okay, I know Dan Panosian's reading Punisher because he has to, but I don't think it's normal for him to actually read a comic of mine. What I like to read, I gotta let's see. I mean, my brain went right to this right over here behind me. Is they're putting out these they're not cheap. They're 29.99, $30 each. But they re-released these giant metal
Oh
Herline.
yeah.
So it's a big book.
No, 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 no. That actually, that one right there
Yeah.
is Friday night's book club on 22 panels.
Oh, okay. So it has a mix of new and old in it.
New and
You know,
old, yeah.
it's got editorial in it. There's some Mobius
Mhm.
in here. There's some stuff. Um, this to me is like my adult happy land.
Oh, that I just
Mhm.
finished reading that yesterday. It's
Is this
so good.
humanoids? Is it humanoids?
Yeah, it's humanoids.
So I read at one point humanoids was having issues, and I don't know what's going on.
Apparently, and I have this both from a couple of artists that work with them, and the Beat recently reworked their story. They did file chapter 7, but they filed chapter 7 right after they transferred all of their assets to a different humanoids company.
Oh, okay, okay. So they're gonna keep coming out with this. This
Right. So
this by
so
far is
essentially,
my favorite thing. This by
oh
far
yeah. Oh,
is the book Meadow Hurlant. I can't recommend it enough. I don't know if it comes out maybe what, 6 times a year?
quarterly. Quarterly.
Quarterly. Well,
Yeah.
it's worth it. I mean, the
4 issues
artwork,
a year.
yeah, it's just I
They
will buy
initially
this till I'm in the
kickstarted it,
ground.
and yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, no, I
Mhm.
heavy metal came back too, and I've been picking up those as well, but the metal Erlant has just been,
They also do a hardcover version too, I think.
yes, they do. They
Um,
do.
you know what? They were really nice
I
because
was cheap and I bought the soft cover, but
yeah, no, no, I like the soft. I mean, I look in the perfect world for me. Like, let's pick Batman because it's an easy one. Um, if Batman came out once a year and it was 300 pages, I'd be happy.
right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You understand? The single comics, I get it, and I get the appeal and the collectability, but I do like my big fat monster books and
Yeah.
Meadow Hurlant. So 4 times a year,
And
eventually
I,
my
I
shelf
like a
will.
good anthology too, and
Yeah,
and these have
if
been
it's
really good
look,
anthologies.
the thing with anthologies is interesting because they never sell, right? The hardest thing is getting anthology. So, but if you put heavy metal or metal hurlant, then you have an extra, you have some
Right.
kind of where to go, right?
Right.
Uh, but as
Oh, and
a
he's been
rule,
putting out the new EC anthology books too that have been doing
yeah, they're hot. I'm
okay.
hot and cold with those because
Yeah.
they're very hot and cold. Have you been reading them?
Oh yeah, I have. I'm not saying that they've been as consistent as Metal Erlant in terms of being good, but I know that they've been selling okay,
No,
which
no, they
which
do.
has
They
been
do. They're great,
and
and the editor, she's terrific on them and
right.
everything. I wish I it's like the
And
quality
I'm
kind of
happy
goes.
with anybody who makes David Lapham do work.
Yeah, well, David should be doing more. I mean, I'm a stray bullets guy, so
I
I
love Stray
Mhm.
you
Bullets.
know
Have you seen his new book American Caper?
I think it's in my pull
Yeah, yeah.
box. Yeah,
Shelley Bond is editing, and
yeah.
it's the writers from Red Dead Revolver and
Oh, the video game?
um, yeah, Grand Theft Auto are doing their first comic,
They don't
but
have much
like are
stories,
serious
those
about
games. You
doing it
know
as a
that, right?
comic.
You know that those
No,
games
no, I
don't.
know, but I mean I've gotten to read the first few issues. They and Shelley didn't get involved until they sold her on the fact that they wanted to make a comic.
Oh, okay. No, I'm sure they're great. I mean, I think I put that
Yeah.
game on zombie mode to make it interesting for me. You know.
I never played it. I
Oh,
just
so
yeah.
I used to write a lot of video games. So when I play games, and I like it to be more story involved. But
Right.
Mhm.
once in a
Mhm.
while, you just want to get on a building with a sniper rifle though and take out a bunch of people. But
Yeah. Yeah.
in a video game, folks.
Yeah, I was about to say, I feel like that's what you had Frank Castle do with Daredevil in this last book.
You know, the Daredevil Punisher book, that whole middle part of issue 1 is a callback to Welcome Back, Frank. So
Yes.
it's told from Punisher's point of view, but by issue 2, we see Frank Castle leaving Central Park Zoo after, all the bears and all the craziness.
Right.
And then he meets up with Daredevil on a subway, and I literally took apart what we did in Welcome Back, Frank, and I told a story that we didn't know was happening right after that. So that's why I got to put the World Trade Center in the last page. Like, you go to the last page and it's the World Trade Center. I'm trying to reinstate that, hey, it's not today. It's
All right.
the year 2000.
I said the last question was going to be the last question, but it's not anymore because I got to ask you as an editor.
Yes.
When Garth Ennis turned in the script to Welcome Back, Frank, and then when you got the Dylan pages, like,
yes,
because I wasn't a Punisher fan before that, but the polar bear.
I have the original art for that page where it swipes his head.
That's one of my favorite
I inked all those. I inked all those books, so I just kept the pages I loved. I inked all those. We were waiting for Garth and Steve to get on it. They had to finish Preacher. Garth pitched us it. If you read Welcome Back, Frank, they're very simple stories. They are.
Yeah.
It literally is like 3-word balloons on a page. Right. It's very simple. And we we literally told them, do whatever you want. I got to ink Steve. One day we'll do another show. We can just talk about that book because I have a lot of stories with that one.
Dude, anytime, man.
Yeah, but it keeps getting reprinted, that story.
Yes, it does. In fact, it's coming out again in the new digest size.
All right, another 24 cents for me. It's fantastic. Dude, I still have a check. I think I have a check up there. For how much is that? 5 cents.
5 cents.
Yeah, 5 cents. I didn't cash it.
So the stamp to send it to you was significantly.
Yes.
Don't you love it when you get checks in the mail that cost for less than the stamp?
One day I'll give you a breakdown of a royalty. A book has to sell 60,000 copies then you'll get a royalty. For every copy sold, you get to split with the whole team 5 cents.
Mm-hmm.
The company makes 95 cents on every dollar the profit made. So we split it 3 or 4 ways. So getting a 5-cent check makes sense in some weird way. Sometimes you get $50, but very rare. Mostly it's like $7 and $11.
This is why creator owned are great.
It's also why when you go to a convention, it's okay to bring your favorite creators donuts because they probably haven't eaten much.
Yeah, so, I do that too.
So you'll make best friends if you bring food to conventions, those people will be your best friend for the whole show. I always tell people that they don't believe me, and then they go, I brought these cookies to David Finch, and oh my God, he was so. And I'm like, you don't you understand? They're like
coffee too.
They run out of. We run out of the hotel. We get to work, and then we're like, oh, we didn't get time. They didn't give us time to eat breakfast. So,
well, we're all making note of that. If you ever come to C2E2 or San Diego,
not enough of them take me up on it, but I might stop waiting for them to take me up on it.
Yeah, donuts are donuts. Nobody says no to donuts, right?
Because like every time I stop at a friend's table, I'll say, "Do you need me to run and get you anything? Do you want me to go grab Starbucks?"
They feel guilty about that because
that's why I'm thinking that rather than doing it that way, I should just show up and I go, I've got these 6 sandwiches. Which one do you want?
Okay, so this will be our ending story here. So I'm in Philly, okay, known for their Philly cheesesteaks, right? I'm doing the Philly show, comic convention, and I put online. I said, listen, anybody who brings me a Philly cheesesteak, I will do a free sketch for. Okay. Saturday, I got 36 Philly cheesesteaks. So what I did, I ate one because of course I can't eat, and I walked up and down Artist Alley, and I gave everybody a Philly cheesesteak. And I had to draw 36 drawings. Big deal. Um, so that worked out pretty well.
Yeah.
Everyone kept going. Oh, I see you have 18 cheesesteaks over there. I said, no, no, just wait online. Bring it up to me, and I'll do you. What do you want? A sketch of, and I would do it, and then they'd give me the cheesesteak, and I would say, "Who's still hungry?" And of course, they're all hungry.
Right.
Um, the green room for comics, it's usually like some radioactive cold cuts and a bottle and a pointy, narrow pointed cup of water, so you can't put it down.
Okay. This is where I'm going to give a plug for my favorite con that not enough superhero people go to.
Go for it.
Comics Crossroads Columbus, Jeff Smith's con,
Ohio.
Ohio. Yeah. I know the people who fill the green rooms, they get good snacks. B, the opening night, why are you shaking your head at me, Mark?
I'm not shaking my head. I was just thinking about a
Okay.
story that I have, but that's a different thing.
Gotcha. The opening night reception is catered by the Ohio State Culinary Department
that's beautiful. Huh?
with good
Yeah.
food.
Yeah. Amanda
C,
said she's going. I just heard
Yeah.
Amanda.
Yeah, no, they give you they actually give out lift passes so you can get around town, and there's plenty of good food in town.
Nice.
And I know that there are people like myself there every year that will happily hey, I'll get you dinner. My friend
Kansas
Edgar and I
City-
took a bunch of people out.
Kansas City Comic Con, that's another one. They feed you like
They
crazy.
feed you well. See?
Barbecue.
So there are a couple of them.
Yeah, there are a couple. It's weird when we go and they have the cosplay people over us. They take better care of the cosplay before they do the comic guests.
Well, and
And,
see, Cartoons Crossroads is very much comics.
Nice. And I noticed you have a Love and Rockets poster on your wall.
I do.
If I didn't say Metal Hurlon, it was going to be Love and Rockets because I love that.
We have a Love and Rockets book club too. Jimmy, you could join book clubs
Oh,
on 22
you
panels
know what
for
I
some your
have a
favorite
lot
things.
of. I have like 40 pages of Beto.
Beto's been a guest 3 times now.
Has he? I have like 40
Yeah.
pages of his art.
Oh, I'm jealous.
I used to buy it directly from him. He had a website. He'd put
Right.
up art, and I would buy like 3 or 4 pages every month.
Yeah, Beto's amazing.
Yeah, he's Jamie's stuff is harder to get. It's more expensive,
Yeah.
and Jamie, that's Jamie's. Jamie's a little
Right.
different than the two of them are
Yeah.
different. But they're both
Beto's a blast.
they're both. I've been a fan of theirs since I was a kid. They're a big fan of Amanda, so
Yeah.
that's nice. So once in a while I get a free drawing because of that. They trade. All right, guys. Well, listen, I got to go, but let's
and
do this again.
Our
This was
best
great.
to Amanda,
Great.
Absolutely.
and she's welcome to come
You
anytime
know what?
too.
Maybe next
'cause I
show
love
we
her
do
stuff.
me and Amanda together.
I like
would be
that idea.
fantastic.
I'll hit you up.
That'll be fun.
So for Jimmy Palmiotti, this has been 22 panels, and we will see you after the next page.